Hello, hi, it's the police.
Oh, hi.
Hello, how are you doing?
Oh, hi, fine. You come in?
Is it Michael?
Yeah.
Yeah, you called a few hours ago.
Yeah.
So if we come in?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, hi, it's the police.
Oh, hi.
Hello, how are you doing?
Oh, hi, fine. You come in?
Is it Michael?
Yeah.
Yeah, you called a few hours ago.
Yeah.
So if we come in?
Yeah, go ahead. Just go turn off your alarm system. Where are we now? So many things. Okay, so early one today, neighbour next door who's got an ASBW and a antisocial behaviour order, community protection order, all of those sort of things. He's under police instructions not to engage in activities which are likely to cause alarm, distress, or annoyance to myself. I'm highly medicated because of the stress and anxiety caused by his activities. Earlier today, I was walking down the fence in an intimidating way, following my father.
What do you mean specifically intimidating?
It's just he has an intimidating manner.
In what way was it intimidating, Michael?
So the context of this is he doesn't go into the garden until we go out. One of us goes out, and he follows us out, watches us, and when we go back in, he goes back in.
Right,
That is
He's in his garden.
He is in his garden, yes. But the context of this is every single time he comes out and just watches what we're doing and goes back in. He maybe he's in the garden.
Is he saying anything to you to cause alarm?
He is. He doesn't have to say anything. It's his manner and demeanour.
I completely appreciate that.
Yes. So then, after doing that, he then walks me down the fence, looking over it as if he's tried to find something.
Right.
Okay.
And then he gets his phone out and starts photographing and videoing over the fence. He's got his phone over the fence, videotaping it. So he's done all of those things. And then he gets a weed killer and then starts spraying it onto our foliage.
Right.
So all of this intimidating, threatening behaviour.
Okay.
Okay.
Michael, I've been here before numerous times.
Yeah, probably have.
Yeah. I can still hear a buzzing noise and a high-pitched noise in the house.
Don't care.
Right.
Really don't care. Not irrelevant. Not at all relevant.
Okay, Michael. If you're not going to work with us, we will just leave. I've been here before. I personally turned off the alarms that are making the noise.
Yes, and they were still off. Everything is still off. So we've got nothing going on.
I can hear them.
What we have in the house is what is agreed we're allowed to have in the house. We have
Agreed with who?
the SNT, everyone,
Okay.
Andrew Cole.
No worries. So, in relation to what you said about him being threatening or anything like that, quite obviously, if he's in his garden, he is allowed to do what he wants in his garden.
Within reason. Within reason.
Well, not necessarily.
Yes,
not necessarily.
Yes.
Similar with how you can do anything you want in your house.
I can't do anything in our house because people keep coming here complaining about noises which are not a nuisance.
Yeah, but they extend past your garden.
But there's nothing in the garden. What you're hearing are pest parents inside the property.
Exactly.
Inside the property.
Yeah,
Inside.
which extend into other properties. If you was playing loud music in the property, which could be heard outside, that would be antisocial. That would be unnecessary at this hour. It's all the same.
There is no way that these noises can be heard.
I heard them when you
annoyed.
pulled up.
Yeah, but you're outside.
Yeah,
You're outside.
exactly.
You're not inside his property. You're not anywhere where it can be. You don't live in my front door.
Okay, we're not
Alright,
going to go
Okay.
through.
It's a fact- that is
who's in
irrelevant.
charge of this case then?
This idiot called PC Young.
Right, we'll
Who's
email the idiot then. Was it PC Young?
It's Robin Young.
Alright, we'll email
Now, so you come here talking about noises. I'm telling you about aggressive antisocial behaviour. There is no way that these noises can be heard.
I heard them when you
annoyed.
pulled up.
Yeah, but you're outside. You're outside.
Exactly.
You're inside his property. You're not anywhere where it can be. You don't live in my front door.
Okay. We're not.
All right.
We're not going to go
Okay.
through.
Who's in charge of this case then?
This idiot called PC Young.
Right, we'll email the idiot then. Was it PC Young?
It's Robin Young.
All right, we'll email Robin
No.
Young then. If he's such an idiot, he'll
No.
try and get him sorted out.
So, you come here talking about noises. I'm telling you about aggressive and
Yeah, and we said we're going to deal with
behaviours.
it. We'll get the S&T to deal with it. I'm not going to go around there and arrest him now. He's got a young kid.
Oh, okay, so I was wondering about this. And so something I've put to PC Young. You're not prosecuting for the crimes he's committed against me because he's got a young child.
Oh no.
No, I'm not
Okay,
saying
that's
that.
what you're saying.
I'm saying I'm not going around there arresting him now because he's got a young child.
Yes, you're saying to me you're not going to do anything because
No,
he's got a young
right.
child.
You're being ridiculous. I'm back.
Why are you talking about noises? What
Right.
what
Goodbye,
are noises
Michael.
got to do about anything about this?
Have a good evening.
No, please, why are you going? I'm reporting criminal
Michael, I
activity.
told you what I'm going to do, and you're not happy with it.
He has committed criminal damage by
Yes,
attaching
listen,
stuff to my face.
I told you what I'm going
He
to do.
has
I'm going to
spread-
email who's in charge of the S&T. I'm going to email them. There's nothing I can do now. He's not in the garden. He's not doing anything.
He continuously does things all the time to cause
Michael,
annoyance and distress.
Michael,
Okay.
the S&T are aware of it. We're response officers. The S&T will deal with it.
They won't deal with it.
Okay, I can't deal with it. I told you what I'm going to do.
No one can deal with this, is what he's saying to me. Because he's got a young child,
Okay,
I have to suffer.
He's explained.
Michael, we're going to leave.
Because he's got a young child, I have to suffer
Okay.
torment and abuse.
Okay.
That is what you're telling me. That is not
He
acceptable.
literally hasn't shouted at you, so there's no abuse there, is there?
Abuse is not shouting. Abuse is behaviour, which is intimidating.
Walking up
It is
and down his
intimidating
garden.
to me.
Okay, so let's put it this way: if he literally claimed the same about you, walking up and down your garden or whatever else, then what?
I have not walked up and down my garden in a threatening and intimidating manner. I have not sprayed weed killer on his flowers. I have not climbed over his fence. I have not attached things to his fence.
No
He's
worries.
done all of those things to me.
No worries. So
Okay.
we'll report it to S&T as they're the ones dealing with this case.
And none of this has got anything to do with any noises.
Okay.
Okay? Just because there are noises doesn't negate the
Okay.
fact
So
he's
anyway,
behaving in a threatened and
I'm just
intimidating
literally
way.
going to start this with how I just ended that last sentence. We're going to report it to S&T, who are the ones dealing with this long issue.
And
That's
you're
been
telling
going
me
on for a while.
that you're not going to do anything because he's got a young child. That is what you're telling me. That is not
I'm going
acceptable.
around in circles. I'm
Okay,
explaining to you
move-
what actions are
We're not going
being
around in circles. I'm telling you this is unacceptable.
Alright.
Just because he's got a young child doesn't mean he can behave like a prat and cause intimidation
S&T
and
will be in
distress.
contact with you, alright? Cheers.
Emergency service.
I need the police, please.
Hello, police. What's your emergency?
Okay. My emergency is I tried to report a crime to the police. First responders have just been here and they've just verbally assaulted me and belittled me and made me feel like I was wasting their time. I'm a vulnerable adult, I'm on high medication, and they're making me feel suicidal. And I need to talk to someone.
Making you feel suicidal.
Yeah, but these officers came here and they're treating me like shit.
What's your address? Oh, okay.
The officers have just come for a report I made earlier today about a torment and abuse from my neighbour, and they came here with all these preconceptions, and they weren't listening to me, and they keep complaining about noises they can hear, and I've got a guy spraying pesticides all over my flowers, and they're worried about noises.
I'll get you some help, alright?
Okay,
Stay on the phone with me.
okay. I've just taken lots of diazepam, so I'll calm down in a bit, but I'm very, very, I don't
What do
know.
you mean? How much have you taken?
No, just 4 milligrams.
Do you mean you overdosed?
No,
now?
no, 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 no,
Okay.
no. That's
What have the officers done exactly?
right. I reported a ongoing criminal activity, which is demonstrable, and I've got videotape evidence of it. And from the minute they got here, they were determined to belittle and downplay and ignore everything I had to say about it. And they kept saying, well, it's his garden, he can do what he wants in his garden. I mean, you can't stray people's flowers from your own garden to someone else's garden, especially if you're a person who's threatened me with violence for being disabled. This guy's violent, he's intolerant, he's volatile, and now he's spraying pesticide all over my flowers. He's recently just climbed over the fence, he's done so many horrible things, and every time police come here, and this is the last fucking straw, and I can't take it anymore, but everyone says there's no crime, and they can't do anything, and the officer said to me, they can't do anything, and they won't do anything because he has a young child. That's not acceptable. Just because someone's got a young child doesn't mean
I'll
that...
help you, okay? I don't want you to feel this way or feel like you're not being helped. I'll help you, okay? We'll have to come back, and we are coming back. We're already on the way, yeah? We'll speak to you, and we'll try and establish what we're going to do. Alright, okay. Just stay on the phone with me until we get back there, okay?
Would it be the same people? Will these guys come back again? It's not going to be the same people, will it?
I don't know who's coming back. I very much doubt it, Michael. Given the experience you've had, I very much doubt it's going to be the same officers coming back.
So I'm not going to open the door with them again.
Sorry?
I'm not going to open the door if they come back again. I don't want them here again.
Let me let them know, okay?
I reported a crime and they came here and they treated me like a criminal. Again. Just because this guy's my fucking neighbour, it means nothing's a crime and he's got a fucking child, so he's innocent and they can't do anything about it because he's a... I would have been to St Mary's or to Sister, I don't want to go back there. I'm handling this. I'm sorry for swearing.
I've let them know not to send the same officers back. It wouldn't make a lot of sense anyway, because obviously it wouldn't, we want it to be someone else with different opinion, and they don't want you to feel awkward or anything with the same officers. So it's basically obviously
because I know who they are until they talk to me, and I don't recognise. I'm blind and I can't know who's who. And they're all the same for obvious reasons.
Alright, it'll be okay, yeah. So how long are your issues with this neighbour been going on?
About 2 years. About 18 months. 16 months of them. But it just it's getting worse and worse and worse. And they will not prosecute him. They will not take any action against him, no matter what he does. And
They said why, or?
well, for the first time, I suspected this for a while, and I've suspected that they won't take action against him because he has a child. And the officers literally said that to me. They're going to just tell them to about it. They're going to do anything about it tonight because he's got a young child. Now, I've got it on camera. I mean, I've got CCTV cameras all over the place now because of all this kind of crap. I mean, he uses his child like a human shield. I mean, he's done that several times before, and now literally...
I mean, mate, are you sure they didn't just mean that they won't arrest him tonight because of his child? Because it said they did pass the details of the incident to your local policing team to progress. So I don't know if maybe they just meant... No,
I asked them 3 times, it's on camera. And I said, are you saying you will not do anything now or ever if, as he is a young child? And they said, we're going to hand it SMT. Handed it SMT. They did not answer the question. So that's not my understanding of what they meant. I mean, but they didn't...
What did they say about the SMT, that they will or won't?
they said they would pass this information onto the SNT, but they wouldn't take any action against him because he has a young child.
Right.
Now, they didn't say they wouldn't do it tonight because he's got a young child. They didn't say they wouldn't do it now because it's too late. I mean, that's a different thing, isn't it?
Yeah, hopefully it's some kind of miscommunication.
No, they didn't want to be here. They came here. They asked me, why did I report? What did I report tonight? And I started to tell them, and they kept interrupting, saying, "Oh no, because it's allowed to do that in the garden." And I started to recount the story, and every time I kept interrupting, saying, "Oh no, that's not a crime, mate. That's fine."
Right.
And I said, "Look, it's not fine. He's intimidating. He's unstable. He's been violent in the past. He's been abusive in the past. He's trespassed. He's damaged our property. So him walking up and down menacingly is itself harassment." And they kept saying, "Well, no, he didn't say anything to you. That's not harassment. That's not the test of harassment. The harassment is, do I feel harassed? And the answer is yes. That's it.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, that's how it works. That's the law. I mean, assault."
You're quite right. As long as you've asked him to obviously stop what you're doing.
Yes, we have.
Which obviously you have.
We have.
Otherwise, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation.
Exactly.
Of course you have.
I mean, the police have done it. The SNT have done it numerous times in writing, in visits.
Has it ever got resolved?
No, they won't do anything. They literally will take no action against him at all. And I think either he's under witness protection, his some weird thing is going on that I don't understand, and they won't tell me, but they're protecting him. They're going out of their way to protect him. And the lengths they're going to not do anything about him, it's ridiculous, and it's unfair, and it's cruel. And it's driving me mental again. And I have been under psychiatric care because of this.
Oh, okay.
And talking about this actually is helping me. So I mean, thank you for listening to me.
Well, that's what we're here for. That's what I'm here for. Obviously, I can only hope this does get better. You know, I don't think anyone wants to really live with that problem ongoing.
I mean,
hopefully we can come to the bottom of this.
I mean, for example, last week, a day after they announced severe weather warnings and severe heat dangers, and don't light bonfires and don't use open flames and don't use matches, he lit a bonfire beneath a 200-year-old oak tree. Which is
Yeah, that doesn't sound very smart.
No, he almost burnt down 500 people's homes. We are next door to a nature reserve. All of our properties down Tilbury Lane, Monkley, Northern Hay, all of it would have gone. There's no water pressure. Everything's as dry as a bone out there. And 3 days ago, he had he had an angle grind out there, and there was sparks everywhere. There was smoke everywhere. And any one of those sparks could have set something off, but
Yeah.
it's not the point. The point is that due to the history of intimidation, stalking, harassment, I have every reason to be afraid of anything this guy does anywhere near my property. I don't want him spraying things on my plants. I don't want him climbing over my fence. I don't want him trespassing on my land. I don't want him damaging my property. I don't want him ringing the doorbell every 10 minutes because he thinks he can hear a noise. When I was telling the officers what was going on, so I'll just recap this quickly. Earlier on today, he was walking up and down the fence in a very intimidating way. He's a big, stocky guy, and he looks intimidating anyway. But what he does is, whenever I and my father go out in the garden, he comes out and watches us until we go back inside and we get back inside. That's what he does, and that's intimidating behaviour. There's no reason for it. It's intimidating. He knows it's intimidating. He has an ASBW and a community protection warning with a thingy that says do not engage in behaviours which are likely to cause distress, annoyance, or whatever. But he is. And that is. And then he starts looking over the fence, and then he gets his phone out and starts recording over the fence. And then he starts spraying my plants with pesticides. All of which is intimidating and harassing and criminal damage potentially. I've got hedgehogs down there.
Yeah.
I mean, they're endangered species, for heaven's sake. And that is distressing to me.
Right. Okay. No. Yeah. It's something we're gonna have to deal with. I mean, it's the kid. Literally the reason why the police or S&T aren't able to assist us. Or
Yeah, that is.
There's no proof, or
No.
there's no footage of it.
No, but they didn't even ask for CCTV. I didn't get around to telling them. Because every time I tried to tell them something, they kept saying, "Oh, that's not a crime. That's not a crime. You can do it on his own garden." One of them said, "Oh, well, if he said the same thing about you, you wouldn't like it, would you?" And I go, "Well, I don't go around clubbing over his fence. I don't go around spraying his flowers with pesticide. I don't go around setting bonfires next to his house. I don't do any of those things. Those things he's done to me, I've done nothing like that." And he has no answer for that. But they just said, "Oh, well, if you're not going to be cooperative, we're just going to leave." And the reason why that happened, I was describing what was going on. First, intimidating, walking down the fence, then looking up and down the fence, over the fence, and then recording over the fence, and then spit pesticide over the fence. They said, "Oh, yeah, fine. And then one of them just said, "I've been here before, and I can still hear a noise." And I said, "It's completely irrelevant. I called you here because I'm in fear of my safety, not to do a noise. It's irrelevant." And they go, "Well, if you're not going to work with us, we're just going to leave." And then they left. They were not interested.
What they said? What did they mean about the noise? Sorry,
Sorry. I'll slow down. Sorry. I had just told them all of the nasty things that Jack had done during the day, which amount to harassment and behaviour breaches and breach of his warning. Then, instead of doing anything or saying anything else, one of the officers just says, "I've been here before, Michael, several times, and I can still hear a noise. It's a high-pitched noise." Which is,
what noise do they mean?
I don't know. It's complicated. So, we are next to a nature reserve. Due to something Jack did a year ago, he fly-tipped lots of household rubbish into the nature reserve. The population of rats exploded. So, and then he blamed us. So the council then came round and said, "We're going to prosecute you under the 1946 Prevention of Damage to Property by Pests Act unless you do something." So we did something. Given I'm blind, I can't put down traps. It's too dangerous for myself. I can't put down poison because it's too dangerous to the wildlife I'm trying to preserve. So the only reasonable alternative is either clear all the undergrowth, which I'm not going to do because we spent years rewilding, to create habitat for the wildlife that we want to encourage. So what we did was put in ultrasonic pest deterrents.
Yeah.
And they worked fine. They worked fine for a year. They were living with these things for years. We had these things for years. And all of a sudden they claim they can hear them, and it's annoyance, and it keeps them up at night, and it gives them nausea. You name it, it did it. I mean, and because the guy can hear something in my house, he starts talking about noises he can hear in the house, and it's irrelevant. And when I didn't want to talk about it, he just said, "Well, if you're not going to work with this, we're going to leave." I mean, that's not appropriate either. I mean,
yeah. Okay. We can go over the option if you wanted to. Obviously, if you wanted that body worn footage from us, looked at and make a complaint and stuff, and have it reviewed as well. How the officers behaved. If you believe it was inappropriate, which I'm guessing you do.
Yes.
Obviously, we can look at it. If they had it on, I'm guessing the footage.
I hope so.
Obviously we can take a look at it. Obviously we can go through that option with you when we get there. That's the aspect of with how you want to proceed with not to do with your incident, not your issue with the neighbour, but the issue with the officers. How you want to deal with that or proceed with it. We can go over that with you as well.
I mean, I've got my own footage of it as well, so if it's been lost or not recorded or not retained, whatever, I've got a complete record of what happened.
Okay, then that's good.
And what you see from this record is I was calm and collected and helping them up until they started being completely illogical. And I've got autism. I can't cope with that. I'm on medication as well. It's not helping me. When people start saying illogical, stupid things, I react to it. And it's not... I mean, I've just told them a guy who's known to be violent and unstable with a history of lying and deception and trespass and damage, has just committed more damage and deception and other problems. And all they care about is some damn noise. And something's happening.
Yeah.
I'm just on the phone to one of them making a complaint about the officers just come.
Okay.
Okay, right, we'll come in. I've got officers here now. Yeah, okay.
I
Thank
know
you.
where it is.
Thank
The
you.
was closed one. We're in
Yeah.
now. It's we're not seeing.
Right, thank you. Bye.
What's your name, mate?
I will follow.
A minute.
You obviously weren't very happy with what just happened with the officers, then I take it.
I'm livid.
Okay.
I'm very, very, very distressed and anxious, and for a few seconds I was a bit suicidal, but I took some drugs, so it's okay now.
Okay.
I've
Okay.
got lots
Do
of
you,
drugs.
do you suffer with mental health issues?
I
normally?
do now because of
Your neighbour.
Because of the
Yeah.
neighbour.
What mental health issues do you have? I know we're going to get onto your neighbour and stuff, but
Yes,
just firstly, what mental health issues do you have?
it's unmanageable anxiety and stress, and I'm getting an ulcer.
And you obviously take medication. The medication
Yeah.
usually helps, I take
Yes,
it.
yes, it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that what medication you've taken tonight?
Yes,
And
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Yes.
what's gone on with your neighbour then?
Okay, so what I tried to do earlier was find reports, and I filed a support on 101, and the operator was very understanding, very appreciative, and said, I'm not wasting your time, it's fine, this is a problem, it's definitely assault, it's definitely harassment, would send someone round, that was fine. So I was expecting officers to come here and take a report about the antisocial and dangerous and behaviour which is contrary to the antisocial behaviour order and the...
What is the behaviour, if you don't mind me asking?
But yeah,
the
it's just,
neighbour?
so I was trying to describe this to them. So, the guy has a history of behaving in ways which are intimidating, which under normal circumstances, without the history, would be innocuous. But because of the history, and because of the patterns of behaviour which are abusive and amount to stalking and other such things, it takes some different light, and it is stressful and it's intimidating. He wasn't just walking up and down his own garden. He was walking up and down the fence line only when we were out there. And the minute we go back inside, he goes back inside. That's the first thing he did. And they drew up to me at that point and said, oh no, he can do what he wants in his own garden. I said, yes, within reason. They go, no, not within reason, it's his own garden. I said, well then, a bit later on, he's walking down the fence, looking over the fence, literally looking over the fence. And then a bit later on, he starts recording over the fence. At that point, they go, oh no, that's not a crime, I didn't do that. And I said, well, then later on he's seen spraying pesticide on my shrubs. And instead of answering that, and until that point I'm calm and relaxed, relatively speaking. But then, instead of continuing the report and doing anything useful, the guy just says, well, I've been here before, and I can still hear this noise. And I said, well, it's irrelevant. I called you here because I'm into my safety.
Stupid question, Tom. You said he was obviously leaning over the fence and doing pesticide. How do you know it's pesticide?
Because of the bottle.
Okay, literally,
Yeah,
so he
it
literally
said
said pesticide.
pesticide.
That's
Yeah,
fine. That's
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Sometimes it's in clear
Yeah.
bottles. It's the only reason I'm asking.
No, it's a blue bottle, white label,
Mhm.
with yellow
No,
top.
that's absolutely
Yeah,
fine.
yeah,
That's
we
just-
believe you. We're just trying to
I
make
just-
sure we know
I
all
know,
the
I know.
details. Yeah.
I know, so it wasn't a clear bottle, there's no possibility it was water.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Due to the way in which he was doing it, I mean, it's not how you wouldn't do any other liquid. It's, yeah. I expect half of my flowers over there to be dead in about a few days, but we'll know for sure. So, yeah. Right now everything's green, if it turns brown, it's definitely poison. Yeah, we'll find out soon enough. But I have every reason to believe it's poison.
Okay.
Yeah, so I started reporting that. Officer says, oh, I can hear a noise. I said, it's irrelevant, I've got it here for my safety. And they go, well, if you're going to work with us, we're just going to leave. And then they just left. I tried to tell them how intimidating and threatening all these behaviours are.
Have you had any contact from the local police at all?
Yes, SNT are useless.
Okay, that was going to be my next
That was going
question.
to be our next thing. Was
Okay. Okay, they are horrifically useful. They're protecting him for some reason. I don't know why, but they are.
What's happened with him today? You've obviously mentioned problems
Yes.
previously and stuff.
Yes,
What's
that's today.
obviously caused?
Yeah, that's today.
Oh, is
the,
it
the,
pesticide
the fence,
today?
the fencing
Yes,
and stuff. That's all
Pesticides,
today.
yeah,
Yes.
okay.
When you say today, what time roughly? Obviously, it's about well,
okay,
it's
so-
midnight now.
It ranges between 9:30 in the morning.
Yep.
One was at 7:30.
In the evenings.
Yes,
Yeah.
and one was at 8. I think it was. Anyway, I've got videotape of all of it. Anyway, obviously, for reasons.
I can see
yeah.
you've obviously got a camera in here. Do you have cameras out the back as well?
I've got cameras everywhere now.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
To protect myself from him.
No, that's fine.
of course.
Absolutely
Yes,
fine. That's-
it's your entitled to do
I'm
that.
sort of assuming that, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but you'll believe the arguments I've had about cameras. Look, I used to work in IT security. I know how to configure cameras properly because of IT guidelines. I used to talk to them every day. And, oh no, you can't do this, or you can't do that. Oh no, you can't do this. And I don't know the law. None of them have even read the police statement of common purpose ever. I mean, let alone PACE. I've never read PACE in their damn lives. No, not the point. Sorry. S&T are fully aware of all of this.
Okay.
Do they come and see you ever?
They do regularly, and every time they come, all they do is give me more stress and anxiety and more problems.
Okay.
I've got email chains which are, if I hand them over to a lawyer, I mean, it's a slam dunk. They're going to, you do not write in an email, we will not substantiate your complaint unless you agree to be interviewed under caution +3 for the offence you have committed. And the offence I've committed, the heinous crime of having a bloody garden ornament. That's not a crime. I mean, if it was shaped like a gun, that'd be different maybe, but it's not.
I would agree.
I
The
mean,
gun would be very different.
yeah, I mean,
We wouldn't be having a polite conversation.
No,
would we?
No, we're definitely
no,
not.
I've been handcuffed.
I might be screaming and running away myself.
Yeah, that's what we call. I mean, I've been threatened by a guy called Robin Young.
Robin Young.
Robin
Is
Young,
he your neighbour,
S&T.
sorry?
No.
Oh.
S&T.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, he's threatening me with interviews under caution and being prosecuted for a non-crime about a non-order which doesn't exist. I've got this community protection notice warning, which has no tracking numbers, no reference numbers, no date.
So, sorry, you've had a protection notice served on you?
Yes.
Do you know what that says?
Okay.
Presumably you were given a copy of it. Or,
Yeah, I need to go and do things. So
Yeah, that's alright.
It's alright. Just
Oh,
have
it's,
to wake him up to
oh, hello.
find
Hello there,
stuff.
sir.
Who's that? Sorry, Dad. Oh, you were probably until we've woken you up, and you're not very happy, I would imagine.
Mm. We've got paperwork everywhere. To the
Is Dad aware of what was happening earlier on in regards to
Okay,
people looking
fine,
over
have a look
fences
at
and
that.
stuff?
Thank you.
We've taken this to Wimbledon Police Station, and the
Okay.
desk sergeant could not identify it, could not find a copy of it, didn't understand it. No one understands that document. I mean, that document's uncompliable.
Anyway, stop. Where are we? What are we doing?
Okay, these officers are here
Yeah.
because following the other visit of the other officers who treated me like a piece of shit,
Yeah.
they scraped off their boot, I phoned 999 to report abuse by those officers.
I mean, that's not the reason that we're here. You obviously said one more thing, didn't you? He made a comment that said that he wanted to hurt himself because of obviously the way that the other officers had dealt with him, hence why we're here. But
Okay.
Michael said he obviously suffers with either stress and anxiety and he's taken a tablet and he feels a bit better now, obviously he's taken the tablet. And we were obviously talking about what happened earlier again. Okay.
Oh, so to wake him up.
So what's going to happen now?
Don't know. Okay, so obviously I've got video of everything that happened, and I can get that if you want to. But the long and short of it is, the interaction was normal up until the point when they started going off tangent.
The police officers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They went off tangent, talk about these noises, and they were not talking about the actual reason why they're meant to be here.
Just very quickly, as I walked through the door, you were obviously on the phone to 101.
Yes.
Were you actually making the complaint then?
Yes.
Because I don't want to be rude or anything, but we can't really do anything about the complaint.
I know.
Because
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
PCs, they're PCs as well.
I know,
So if you want to obviously make a complaint against them, completely right to, and you can do that, but you have to obviously call 101 and it'll go through to an inspector who obviously above our pay grade in the nicest possible way.
101 said, while you're here, I could talk about it.
Yeah.
with you.
Yes,
You
of
couldn't
course.
take-
Absolutely.
Yes,
you couldn't take,
absolutely.
that's fine,
Yes.
fine.
Yeah.
So, I do want to make a complaint about these officers.
Okay.
I do not feel they treated me with dignity and respect.
Did you get their shoulder numbers or anything
It's
like
on the
that?
canvas.
Okay.
Okay.
It was on the canvas.
I was going to give it to you on a piece of paper if you wanted it, but obviously if you...
No, we get up the canvas.
Okay.
Absolutely fine.
So, the reason why you're here, I think you've established, I'm very, very, very angry about my treatment by these officers.
Yeah, I get that.
They've downplayed and belittled and treated me like shit. They made me feel like I was wasting their time. Everything contrary to how the 101 officer responded to my complaint at the time.
Mhm.
Now, at the time I made that complaint to 101, I didn't know about the pesticide thing.
Right. Yeah.
So if you just that information about the pesticide, they still thought it was a valid thing to be reporting. And then these guys coming here and they literally say to me, "We're not going to do anything because he's got a young child." I suspected this for a long time, that they're protecting him because he's got a young child. And now they've actually said so.
Okay.
I mean, that's not acceptable. It's not right. It's not.
But the implication is they've been doing some research before they got here, otherwise they wouldn't have known that.
Yeah, how do they know he's got a young child?
So I don't know who they've been talking to before they got here.
I think you
Yeah,
said that
again,
one of the
we
police
can't-
officers said they've
one
been
of
here
them-
before.
So they
haven't
are-
they? I've obviously never been here before.
Yeah,
I've never met.
Okay.
So,
Anyway. So we are a fresh pair of eyes.
Yeah. So the one that came before is probably brief. The other guy, ignore these guys. I've got a video of another officer who came here. Who I said, look, go and talk to Jack, guy next door. He does, over the fence, in front of my canvas. And on that, I had the officer saying to Jack, well, you know what your neighbours are like. Well, that is an S&T officer saying back to Jack. That's not Jack saying that to him. The officer has decided we are guilty of something, and everyone comes to this idea that we're guilty of something.
Okay.
I mean,
You've obviously mentioned issues with the neighbour next door that way.
Yeah.
Do you have any neighbours with... Yep.
oh no, we're friends with her.
Get my words
Okay.
out. She's all good.
Yeah, no
It's
issues.
just the other side.
Yeah, we're friends with everyone around here, apart from
Just
them
that.
and people doing that on 58.
Right. Okay.
And Jack next door, does he have problems with other neighbours as
Yes.
well?
Do you know which neighbours he had issues with?
Everyone.
Everyone.
I mean,
Okay.
well, so
He's the bad apple.
lady across the road, who is a single lone elderly lady, who has been verbally abused by him several times.
Over anything in particular, or
What was it? What was it?
if you can't remember?
Oh yes,
don't worry.
yes. So, what happened was, she came over here talking to us.
Mhm.
He heard her one. He was listening on his new doorbell. He uses it to spy on everyone. He does. He uses it to torment me as well. I mean, he makes animal noises when I'm out. I've got an overgrown garden. There's at least one fox warren in there, and they're spreading out, and they're causing her distress, and she can't use the garden. So she's got some autotoilet pest things too, which he blamed us for.
Right. Okay.
He ran. This is past and previously been reported. First, he approached my father in the garden, saying, "Whoa, why have you given them pesticide? Why did you tell him not to get them? Why are you doing this to me?" He thinks everything's about him. Then he says, "Because of you, I'm now going to have to go and talk to her." So he literally blamed us for the thing he was about to do. He was about to go verbally assault for what he was about to do. And so he went across the road, had a go at her. It ended up him saying, "When are you going to pop your clogs? I can't wait for you to die, you silly old bat," and something else along those lines.
Okay.
I'll repeat that one. But yeah, so her, she doesn't want to have anything to do with him. He's been abusive to her at least twice.
Lots of
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably a lot more, but the common thing is everyone is too afraid of him to report it. And I've had S&T come here saying, "Well, no one else has reported it," as if that means it didn't happen.
Did they go and speak to anyone? Yes, and T.
Do they speak to any of the other
I
neighbours?
know
any of
they,
the
I
other
know they,
sides?
I know they took.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. We talked to nuisance. Now, the police are meant to be doing noise nuisances because that's environmental health. The police are not trained to do a noise nuisance. They haven't got the equipment or anything. Yet they're talking to her about a noise nuisance, trying to validate his stupid complaints about a noise nuisance that doesn't exist. We've had to take all of our ultrasonic pest machines out just to appease him, just to make life easier for the S&T. Out of our goodness of heart, doing that. We didn't have to do that. We weren't obliged to do that by the transformation. That order you think is ridiculous. It's unenforceable. It's illegal too. It's not an illegal document. It's printed at home. No one can see this document. No one knows about this document. I mean, it's formatted wrong.
Is that this document?
Yeah.
Can I haven't seen it. You've showed it to my colleague.
It's formatted wrong. This is totally mistaken.
And it makes untrue statements.
And it makes untrue statements.
Okay.
And also, it's asking me to do a thing which is impossible. I mean, I cannot get rid of everything which makes an audible noise in my home.
No.
I'm visually impaired. I'm severely visually impaired. I need things that make noise.
Mhm.
Everything talks to me. Everything makes noise.
Yeah. That's what helps you get around and helps you go about your day, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, that's what makes me independent. And I can't get rid of those things. Yeah, that order makes no sort of clarification.
How long ago did you get that? I think there's a date.
First of June.
First of June.
First of June. Okay, so you've had that for a couple of months.
Yeah, and he keeps emailing me saying, "You need to comply with this order. You need to comply with this order."
Oh,
And
what
we can't-
Robin,
Yeah,
the officer, does?
Yeah.
Okay.
And now he wants to interview me under caution +3 for a non-crime. For breach for warning that is unofficial and unenforceable, on grounds which are based on a lie.
Have you spoken to any solicitors or anything about it?
I'm about to.
Okay.
He won't let me.
Well, I just seriously thought S&T would sooner or later do what would their job was, frankly.
Okay. And now you're like sort of a couple of months down the
Well,
line.
we were being harassed by this guy for 10 months straight next door with all sorts of things which have been accepted as crimes but not quite reaching the level of evidence or seriousness or public interest, but everyone accepted that the whole series of crimes he was doing. And
I've got a video.
so we had
literally.
10 months straight,
Yeah.
during which time S&T did absolutely nothing about him at all.
Yeah.
He objected to the first time we put out the sonic pest deterrents, which we only did because of this rat problem that he caused.
Yeah.
And the moment he did that, we got an ASB warning to stop being bad neighbours.
Right, okay. And nothing has ever gone like the other way
No,
as far as you're aware.
he's got warnings, and in
Okay.
fact he's had penalty notices on twice for them.
Okay.
But the whole period of harassment that he's been doing with his disabilities,
I've got a
yeah.
video saying he's going to beat me up
Yeah.
and won't see it coming. That's disgusting.
they've refused to accept that the crime of stalking and harassment exists effectively. And they've refused to treat the whole series of it. And then, so all the way through, we suffered this last year.
These guys, it's the last straw. I can't take
I
it.
mean, and then I'd say suddenly, just because they complain once about something that, frankly, if they didn't have the ears of bats, wouldn't be equivalent to them. So it's that ultra sensitivity by them. They play once, and suddenly we're as much victims, we're much guilty parties as they are, and it feels so wrong.
Yeah.
And I've got autism, and it's not helping my mental.
No, not
at all.
You know, you don't want to be up
and just to
dealing
give examples, it's going back to March last year. He had to go away for 6 weeks because of the stress that this is being induced on him.
Okay.
And during that time,
I'm going to go get some water.
during that time, my wife went from just a healthy bedbound person to dead,
Okay.
literally.
Sorry to hear that. Yeah.
And he came back 3 days before she died. So she'd missed all that time. And what turned her completely was the way he was breaking every building code of building product when he was doing his work next door.
Mm-hmm.
He had one of these high intensity routers, the industrial strength ones, and for 4 or 5 weeks solid, morning till night, 7 days a week, he was on the party wall up there with my wife stuck, so she couldn't do it. She was literally screaming with pain.
Yeah.
Every time I went round there, he'd say, I can do what I like, it's my own home, I can choose what I do. And for someone who has that attitude, then to complain about a noise that almost nobody else can hear in our garden, and say we can't do what we have to do in our house,
Yeah.
when he was doing all that.
Doing what he
So
wanted in
we've
his
got
own.
this whole history,
Yeah.
and then because we were complaining,
Just for Olivia.
because we were complaining,
What's your back?
he started this campaign against us.
Yeah.
He had him kicked off next door by lying about what Michael was posting on next door. He kept saying Michael was maligning him on next door, and he can't find a single post
Okay.
to say that.
No.
Eventually,
The thing that got me banned was he broke into my property by moving aside barriers designed to prevent people entering. It's not like a gate, you can't just walk in. He did that, came in, damaged property, kicked it down the well, and I put a post on social media saying, be careful everyone backing onto the woods, there's increased activity by burglars around here, so be careful of the margins.
Yeah.
And I even blurred out his face, just in case.
And then he told next door that that picture was taken of him in his garden.
Okay.
So he self-identified
Yeah, but
and lied about where the picture was taken and lied about what he's doing. And because the SMT team had told him that Michael had psychological problems as a result of the strains and stresses, next door kicked him off for Michael's protection and for breaking the rules by shaming, filming someone in their own garden, putting on next door. So that's just. And with Michael's inability to be out there with his sight problems, next door with his main social outlet, his main relief for tension, all that's been taken away from him. And S&T won't do anything to tell next door that their removal of him was a lie and that the person who should have been off was him. They didn't do anything about the fact that he identity theft thing, which is where he rang up Rightmove and told Rightmove that we were looking to move. So we got flooded with estate agents' calls.
For 2 weeks.
Okay.
They didn't do anything about him having rung up the RSPCA to accuse us of cruelty to a hedgehog and killing one when he'd actually killed one himself. They didn't do any of that, and all that was building up all the way through last year.
Yeah.
And then he'd been fly tipping the wood and not just putting building rubbish in the wood, but putting a thing of household refuse out there. So suddenly there was an increase in rat activity, which we complained about.
We sent photographs.
And then we got.
As I say, so you'll go straight to the council with that, because obviously fly tipping is a council thing.
And then
Usually,
so we went to the council.
Yeah.
And the council did something about it. The next thing we know, he reported us, the council, for harbouring rats.
Okay.
So we get a notice saying we've got to take every step possible to make sure there isn't rodent activity, which is when we put the sonic presbyterians out there. And then he complains that it keeps them awake at night.
Right. Okay.
And it gives them headaches and nausea and keeps a child awake.
Yeah.
And there's no evidence of any of this.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they go to bed at 9 o'clock on the dot. No shouting and screaming, no distress of the child. They claim they can't use their garden, they're at it all the time.
Yeah.
I mean,
Can I just grab some details from you guys?
When was the last time that SNT, obviously I know that they obviously have sent you that, and they've sort of contacted you a couple of times. When was the last time they actually came around at all when you saw this
Physically
person?
came here. One of the complaints we made, it was a member of S&T who came round, Ruben Brescia.
yeah,
Russia.
That's the guy I mentioned earlier.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's an S&T team member, I think.
Okay.
Better?
But I've found the video of the officers. I want to see that.
As I've said, Michael, you can play it for me, but as I've said, they're the same rank as me. If you want to complain, you've got every right to, but I physically can't do anything about it. That's
I don't mean to do anything about it. I mean, do you want to see the context in case I've described it wrong?
No. That's, yeah.
Well, I've got no reason to disbelieve
you. Do
it.
so keep all of it. I mean, obviously, we talked about solicitors, etc. That's entirely up to you. But especially if you've got that order, if that's something that you feel like you want to go down, might be now the time, given that it's been a couple of months since that, and SNT haven't really kind of assisted you in that time, to sort of have a think about that. I know you said you'd thought about it. Obviously, we can go back and we can obviously put on a report of the stuff that's happened today. But in the long run, it might be the time to get sort of different people involved to try and help you guys out.
I mean, we've got Andrew Cole from the Simarac thing. We've got some random people
I think
involved.
we've been given the email address. The guy at Safer Merton, runs Safer Merton, has made a positive suggestion that if we have a problem with S&T, we should copy in his inspector.
Yep.
And we've got a thing for that.
Have you mentioned it once, I think. Have you actually spoken to the sergeant? You've obviously mentioned Robin, who's a PC.
No, he keeps talking about his line manager is another PC
new.
new. But we want.
It's not a PC, that's a sergeant,
Is
definitely.
it?
I know who it is.
Oh, I
Sergeant,
see.
yeah, I know
Okay.
who that is.
A
line manager is generally one person above you.
Yeah, well, that's
even
what
if they're, even if they're enacting, they're
it's
still
referred
technically
to
a
once as PCU. So
No,
Yeah.
it's definitely. I know.
But
who
obviously,
you're
you've got the
talking about.
inspectors, and that's a whole nother level
Yeah,
up
yeah.
as well. So actually, it might just be worth
Okay.
sort of. It's
anyway,
worth
I've
escalating it.
copied him in for the first time today.
Okay.
The email file is this.
Yeah.
It goes on for like 10 pages.
Long.
But,
Yeah.
In the simple threats to, as I've
So-
mentioned.
Yeah.
Well, any times I've dealt with the sergeant, he's actually very good. Every
Okay.
time I've
Yeah.
spoken to him.
Because our problem is that every time we complain about something that BC Young had done, he said, I've consulted my line manager and this has been approved.
Right. Okay.
And we
So-
don't know what he was told.
Well, if you speak to that Sergeant New, if that is his line manager, obviously he will be able to say yes or no
Yeah.
as to whether he
But
was actually consulted, and then if you're obviously not
I've
happy.
sent the thing to the inspector,
Yeah.
he might pass it back down to Sergeant
Yeah.
New, but
But at least you've got that next level,
Yeah.
haven't you? As you
Yeah.
said, even if Sergeant New ends
Yeah.
up turning around and saying, "Oh yes, no, I've been consulted on X,
Yeah.
Y, Z," then you've got the next level up,
Yeah.
haven't you? In terms of an inspector.
yeah. I mean, in terms of the most recent property damage, I meant to be going in on Monday morning to give a statement.
Okay.
And
The next
it's
week.
coming on
Five
Okay.
days.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So
So you can
that's
see
a
them
whole
in
different
person.
question. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know who. The last time we gave a statement, and which led to fines, is actually the statement was taken by Robin Young, but that we went to Sutton go with that, and he had
Right.
some lady had to sit in. He fashioned some metal instrument. We have just go back. He insisted on installing. He says he's a qualified gas heating engineer, but he isn't. His firm is registered, but he personally isn't. He chose to put his new boiler against this party wall rather than the normal place, which is the other side.
Because we're left-hand
Yeah.
so
And it's got a tiny little pipe coming out here. What comes out is so extreme that on the monitors, it sometimes goes off the monitor because
Right.
the rubbish and stuff comes out.
every day, because of the scale, because
Yeah.
when it
SW
starts up,
is the one.
where is it? Oh no,
The
that
one that
power.
says SW on it.
Yeah, but it's out of power.
Okay.
Anyway,
The point is, it actually sent him into a chemically induced stupor one night because the stuff was coming out. So we installed a fan out there to keep the air pushing that way.
Yeah.
It's not particularly intrusive. I mean, you can't hear it now.
Yeah. No, can't hear anything.
But it goes on all day, and I think they actually appreciate it because they know it's rubbish.
Yeah.
But
It's
the
tricky.
point
Yeah,
was
wow.
he was for reasons best known to himself. He got some sharp metal instrument and jammed it into the fan, and that broke.
Right. Okay.
And that's the same 24-hour period. So it's
Yeah.
those two instances
That you're going to do the statement about.
So,
Okay.
but my personal evidence can only be that I saw it on the video,
Yeah.
and I helped find that the cables were under the ground
Yeah.
on his side.
Yeah.
And that I saw that in the fan, one of the blades had this big metal chunk out of it.
Yeah.
So
What's the dismantle?
whether that's any good to them, I don't know.
We have to have something to work
Yeah.
off, which would be your initial account,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then
I mean, I've physically got all the physical evidence in the box upstairs.
I mean, that thing says we've got to remove everything from inside and outside the house. Doesn't say what remove means, for example. So we said we had this meeting, a sort of semi-informal meeting between Tony Cole, who's the head of Safe and Merton, and Robin Young and me, and we analysed that, and we said it's true. He had no right to tell us to remove that, but he asked us in order to keep the peace if we could remove them from the garden.
Right. Okay.
At that time, they're all broken by then.
Yeah,
But the physical things were in
Yeah.
the garden. I said, fine, in order to keep the peace, we will remove them. But the reinterpretation of that one line, that
Over it,
instruction was nothing inside the house was meant to be involved, but that the sonic pest plants should come out of the gardens in order to keep the peace.
Okay.
So we did,
Yeah.
and it hasn't kept the peace because he keeps imagining
It's
it
different
hears
things.
stuff.
Yeah.
But that then became a thing we have done wrong. We have violated the order by not complying.
Right, okay.
Even though it was clear from that meeting it is not an order, we are not obligated to do so, and we have decided to do so for retrieval as a favour to them.
Anyway, so there's a whole ream of
Lots of
emails of
That's why a
those.
solicitor, though, you know, because obviously a lot of what they do is like interpretation of documents, etc., you know. So
No,
if you're going to go down that route,
I was a practicing solicitor for 40 years.
so you know,
That's why I try not to get involved.
yeah, no,
Okay.
yeah.
So, but the point about that is the three things we want to do, two of them we never did.
Okay.
And the one in the middle was impossible
Mm-hmm.
because that meant every single item in the house that made a noise, telephones, ovens, everything, would have to be taken out of the house and taken down the tip. I mean, clearly
which
not,
is not going to happen.
not going to happen.
Okay.
So we interpreted it. Tony Cole of Safer Merton was there, if you like, as umpire referee. And it was agreed completely
But that's not.
that the only thing that we had to do was take the sonic question out of the garden, and that was because we were trying to be good neighbours and they asked us nicely.
Okay.
Okay? So,
Which got reimagined into
and now,
now.
because one of the problems we have is that Robin Young continues to refer to sonic devices, which means any device that makes any noise.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't refer to ultrasonic, but he's told him that.
Okay.
So he now thinks that every thing that makes a noise is covered by this order.
Right. Okay.
Do you know who you're giving the statement to on Monday?
He didn't say, could I just come?
Okay.
Where are you going to?
Wimbledon, 10 o'clock Monday morning.
Okay.
So I don't know, for all I know, it'd be Robin Young again. I just don't know.
Yeah.
See, he's a two-faced guy. He said nice things to you in your presence.
Who, sorry?
Robin Young.
Okay.
When you're in the police station, he's nice as anything. But when he's in your own home, he says the most ridiculous things. And he writes the most horrible things and actionable things. I mean, I want to personally sue him for libel and defamation.
I'm trying to stop all this suing business going on, but it's clear that unless something happens soon, that we've been introduced to one of these terrible Liverpool no-win, no-fee firms who says their sole function in life is to sue the police. Well, you know, if you're going to do it, you might as well do something who just give it to someone who's horrible. But I don't want to.
Well, I do.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm the one suffering. You're suffering a different way because of me. I'm making you suffer. That's different.
Anyway.
Appointment for Monday.
Yeah. Which deals with a different item.
Yeah, but obviously that doesn't mean that you can't talk about.
Do you have any
everything else
reference
as part of
numbers
that.
or anything for Monday? Because you're just going to go into a police station and say, I'm here to see someone.
Yeah.
But you don't have any reference numbers or anything.
I
I'm
think
just wondered.
If
Or
I
is it
just
written down?
Just if you
somewhere?
do, they give you.
hang on, just.
If it's written down somewhere, it's just fine. Yeah. And there's so many. I've got collections of PCN, NCR, CIN, everything. It's just, you can get rid of all these things in 2 years. There's been more police in attendance at Chadwick Lane in the last 6 months than there have in the last 6 years.
Yeah,
All because of this.
because of this.
We've never, ever had anything like this before, ever.
How long have you guys lived? How long ago did
18
you
months.
move in? Okay, it's been
The very first thing he did was set fire to a skip, and the skip says don't set fire to the skip. And he set fire to a skip on a narrow residential road
Yeah.
where a fire engine can't get down. I've got my departed mother of the time who was bedbound up there who can't escape. I'm blind and can't work out the hell's going on. Within the house is on fire.
Yeah.
I mean, we're terrified what's going on. I'm trying to work out how to get run downstairs.
Yeah.
And it turns out he's just set fire to a skip because he doesn't want to take stuff down to the tip. And he's lit 6 fires out in the garden, and we're chasing to a nature reserve. 200-year-old oak tree. He's almost burnt it down 3 times. He's set fire to that fence. He's put a bonfire literally next to our fence. There's a 6-foot section of fence and 4 foot. At the end of that 4-foot section of fence, it goes to 4 foot.
Yeah.
6 foot, 4 foot. There, he lit a fire and it burned the fence.
Okay.
And reported back, and it's not property damage because it's not our fence.
Okay.
No, it is our fence.
Okay.
We installed it. We paid a guy to install it. It's in our boundary. All the law says it's our fence. And they just say, oh no, it's not your fence. And because they say so, apparently that overrides sense, reason, documentation, everything. And they just say random things and they make no sense. And they're not legally sufficient. Wouldn't stand up to any scrutiny whatsoever. I've got emails where this guy literally commits perjury. And then commits perjury to cover that perjury. And then perjures himself again just to make sure. I've got a image which he doctored from a video which.
Smashing plays on. My arm's fading around.
So never mind. So I sent them a video of him creating that said fire, feeding the fire, putting fireworks into it, the fire dust into it, waiting for us to come out, waiting for us. He wanted to have a go. He's feeding this fire. So I've got video of him feeding this fire. Now, because I'm getting video from feeding the fire, I temporarily, for a legal purpose, take away one of the privacy screens because I'm videoing crime in progress. Now,
there's a reference number, perfect.
he then sends a copy
hang on.
of that back
Yeah,
to
I'll
us,
try it down there.
saying I am
Or else someone
guilty
drop of it and then you'll be like,
Well, you can have it, 'cause
oh, you've got a copy of it.
to my
It's
next
on
property.
the
The evidence he gave
email that
is
sets
a
up the meeting.
tiny
That's on
little
the
section.
forums,
That's there.
I didn't need
Blown
crime.
up
I didn't need crime reference number.
as if that's the whole view.
Okay.
I will read
That's
what it
perjury.
says.
That's falsifying evidence. And it's not the first time. It's not the last time he's done that.
Okay.
And, oh, it
Okay.
goes on and on and on.
Don't worry, I don't need anything else. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah, I
It's
think
somebody-
we've got to do now, haven't we?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
As I said, obviously, you know, if you want to make a complaint about earlier, you know what the process for that.
Yeah.
Obviously,